to this week's edition of World Today, where we will focus on a major development that could impact food security in many parts of the world, particularly in Ukraine. Two things have happened this past week. One is the attack on granaries in Ukraine as an act of retaliation by Russia for the drone strikes in Crimea. Second is Russia withdrawing from the United Nations brokered grain initiative that allowed Ukrainian grain to be exported via the Black Sea. While the Kremlin has been complaining about the terms of the deal since last October, the decision will take a toll on global food security. Here's a detailed report.
Russia halted participation on July 17, days ahead of the renewal of this year-old UN brokered deal that lets Ukraine export grain through the Black Sea, causing concern in poorer countries that price rises will put food out of reach. The suspension of the Black Sea Grain Initiative will exacerbate what is already a terrible situation across Europe, Africa and beyond.
This decision to end the Black Sea Grain Initiative is regrettable. And from where I stand in Eastern Africa, I would say it's very regrettable, because in fact this is going to make our ability to feed hungry people that much more difficult. Already there are 80 million people in the region who are acutely food insecure. A whole range of factors are driving that. It's conflict, it's climate, it's the economic shocks, and of course it's the hangover from COVID. This suspension of the initiative will just exacerbate what is already a terrible situation.
After the attack by Ukraine on a critical bridge connecting Crimea, which was captured by Russia in 2014, Moscow retaliated in full force. A double-pronged attack, first the granaries in Odessa and Mykolaiv with successive nights of airstrikes on the southern Ukrainian port cities, followed by ending the grain deal.
This terrorist attack proves that their target is not only Ukraine and not only the lives of our people. In the ports that were attacked, there were about millions of tons of food stored. It is precisely that amount that should have already been delivered to consumer countries in Africa and Asia. 100% of all Somalis use wheat. We pray to God for peace in Ukraine and everywhere. Let all wars stop, and we hope grain routes will remain open, God willing.
The two countries are at war and Moscow is unsparing. The Black Sea deal was brokered by the UN and Turkey in July last year to combat a global food crisis worsened by the Russia-Ukraine war. The two countries are among the world's top grain exporters. Russia is claiming, why should Ukraine profit from the deal when Western sanctions are blocking Russian agricultural exports?
They use the grain deal to profit here shamelessly. Initially, the deal was aimed to safeguard the global food security, decreasing the threats to hunger and to support the poorest countries of Africa, Asia and Latin America. This was why Russia has committed itself to promote its fulfillment.
Russia's decision has forced Ukraine to reroute its grain exports as its 6 major Black Sea ports remain under a blockade. This has left millions at increased risk of starvation.
It will not stop our efforts to facilitate the unimpeded access to global markets for food products and fertilizers from both Ukraine and the Russian Federation.
The world is trying to push Russia back into the deal, but it may take months until the ports reopen.
Blow hot, blow cold. That is literally the mood of the weatherman, which should really put countries, governments and their leaderships on high alert. Extreme weather events are becoming more common and are impacting nations the world over, all thanks to climate change, all thanks to mankind. Here's a detailed report.
Halfway into 2023 and climate change is already hard at work, with extreme weather events hitting headlines and costing lives and livelihoods all around the world. From floods to drought to flash floods. Wildfires, unbearable heat waves, unmatched ice storms. Climate change is happening here and now. The heat wave engulfing the northern hemisphere is set to intensify this week, causing overnight temperatures to surge and leading to an increased risk of heart attacks and deaths, according to the World Meteorological Organization.
But more importantly, we need the world to broaden its attention beyond the maximum temperature alone. In many locations where the maximum is reaching into the high 40s or higher, the temperature may still be near 40 at midnight. So in these circumstances, the minimum temperature is more important for health and failing critical infrastructure which supports these people during extreme heat waves. So repeated high nighttime temperatures are particularly dangerous for human health because the body is unable to recover from sustained heat. This leads to increased cases of heart attacks and death.
Heat waves this summer saw temperatures climb to 53 degrees in California's Death Valley and over 52 degrees in China's northwest, coinciding with wildfires from Greece to the Swiss Alps and deadly flooding in India and South Korea. It is a double whammy of global heating in 2023. Greenhouse gas emissions and a return of the El Nino making matters worse. El Nino, a weather pattern in the Pacific Ocean that occurs every 2 to 7 years, is known to send temperatures soaring. The changes in climate due to El Nino mean more natural disasters for climate-vulnerable countries to contend with amid a climate crisis that is already decimating lives. Italians braced for record temperatures on Tuesday that could see highs of more than 47 Celsius on the Mediterranean island of Sardinia as deadly heat waves and extreme weather gripped Europe, Asia and the United States.
These are hellish temperatures. I don't know what else to call them. It feels like hell, and it's bad because working in this heat is not easy and people would rather drink than eat. We sell a lot of granita and the water doesn't have time to cool down in the refrigerator and people need to drink a lot of cool things.
Here are visuals of the aftermath of a wildfire that broke out in Kovaras, about 27 kilometers southeast of Athens in Greece. Charred fields and burned out buildings, fanned by strong winds, raged uncontrolled through the village, forcing residents to flee their homes. Canada is currently experiencing its worst ever start to the wildfire season, largely due to an extreme dry period followed by a heat wave. Meanwhile, the world has still not been able to find consensus on how to fight climate change. It is the developed world versus the developing world. While the battle rages, it is the countries of the global south or developing nations who are bearing the brunt of this growing man-made menace. India experienced extreme weather causing incessant rainfall, flash floods, landslides leading to loss of lives and massive damage to property. With the COP28 summit to be held in the UAE in November, there are many challenges to be addressed. The most important would be to bring about consensus and a path to reducing carbon footprint, not just through individual action, but most importantly, it is time that world leaders and business leaders listen to the science and deliver the urgent, widespread and ambitious reform.
Speculations are rife over the missing minister in Xi Jinping's cabinet. The country's foreign minister was last seen on the 25th of June and had since been absent from all diplomatic meetings. Take a look.
The prolonged absence of Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang from the political meetings has been sparkling speculations. China made an attempt to put these speculations to rest, but the controversy is not dying down.
Foreign Minister Qin Gang cannot attend this ASEAN ministerial meeting because of health reasons.
Rumors are rife of his affair with the TV show host Fu Zhiaotian, affiliated with the Hong Kong-based Phoenix TV. There are also speculations of him having a child with US citizen Fu out of wedlock. Earlier, a video of Fu's interview with Qin Gang had also gone viral. The 57-year-old Chinese minister has not been seen in public since June 25th after his meetings with officials from Sri Lanka, Vietnam and Russia. He was missing in action during the visit of US cabinet ministers Janet Yellen and John Kerry too. Earlier, China had cancelled the visit of EU's High Representatives for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Joseph Borrell, who was due to arrive in China to meet Qin Gang. Qin Gang, a trusted aide of Xi Jinping, was promoted as China's foreign minister after his brief stint as ambassador to the US. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
The future of Commonwealth Games 2026 is in doubt as the host country Australia's Victoria State has opted out of the 13-day event. A report.
Australian state of Victoria has decided to not host the 2026 Commonwealth Games. The decision was taken after the projected estimate shot up to 7 billion Australian dollars from a budgeted 2.6 billion Australian dollars. Victorian State Premier Daniel Andrews said that the Commonwealth Game Federation has been informed about the state opting out from hosting the Games.
Look, I've made a lot of difficult calls, a lot of very difficult decisions in this job. This is not one of them. Frankly, $6 to $7 billion for a 12-day sporting event, we are not doing that. That does not represent value for money, that is all cost and no benefit.
Following the withdrawal, New South Wales, which has hosted the 2000 Olympic Games, has refused to host the 2026 Commonwealth Games due to financial constraints.
In terms of where we go to from here, the Games will not proceed in Victoria in 2026. We have informed Commonwealth Games authorities of our decision to seek to terminate the contract and to not host the Games.
The withdrawal of the Victoria has placed the future of the quadrennial Games under doubt, given the challenge of finding replacement hosts 3 years out from the event. The Games were started in Ontario in 1930 and have been cancelled only once after the outbreak of the Second World War. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
Hollywood continues to protest in solidarity against pay and safeguarding artificial intelligence rights with film studios and streaming services. The Hollywood Actors Union joined SAG-AFTRA, that's Hollywood's largest union, and this is the first time both the unions are on strike together since the 1960s.
Striking Hollywood actors joined film and television writers on various picket lines Friday for the first day of a dual strike that has forced U.S. studios to halt productions. Academy Award-winning actress Susan Sarandon joined strikers in New York City.
So we're in an old contract for a new type of business, and it's just not working for most people. LA is a union town.
Joint action by both Hollywood writers and actors hasn't been seen in more than 60 years. In Los Angeles, actors marched outside offices like Paramount and Netflix, calling for better pay in the streaming TV era. Actress Andrea Saloom.
I actually make less money working in film than I did in the year 1990. It's really scary with the artificial intelligence, and I have one thing to say: if you want this voice, you gotta pay for it.
SAG-AFTRA president Fran Drescher, the star of the TV series The Nanny, raised her well-known voice, joining picketers outside Netflix.
We are speaking on behalf of workers all across the nation and around the world. The eyes of workers are upon us. What is decided in this strike and this negotiation is going to impact everybody. And if we don't take control of this situation from these greedy megalomaniacs, we are all going to be in threat of losing our livelihoods.
Unions nationwide have been taking harder lines in negotiations over better wages and benefits. As for SAG-AFTRA, Hollywood's largest union, representing 160,000 film and television actors, and the Writers Guild of America, they're demanding increases in base pay and residuals. Those are fees paid from rebroadcast and streaming TV. They also want assurances that their work will not be replaced by AI. Many streaming services have yet to turn a profit after companies spent billions of dollars on programming to try to attract customers. The WGA's work stoppage, which began in May, has rippled through California and beyond, hitting a slew of companies that rely on Hollywood productions for business. And the economic damage is expected to spread with actors now on the picket lines.
And here are some other stories we really couldn't focus on, but they're important. So take a look at World at a Glance.
Chinese President Xi Jinping met former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger in Beijing to discuss relations between their two countries. Kissinger has visited China 100 times. Xi hailed the 100-year-old former U.S. Secretary of State as an old friend. Kissinger met Xi in the Dayatuai State Guest House, where the former diplomat was received on his first visit to China in 1971. Former U.S. President Donald Trump said he had received a letter from Special Counsel Jack Smith stating that he was a target of a grand jury investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election result. Trump made the statement in a series of posts on his social media site Truth. Mercenaries from Russia's Wagner Group started to train Belarusian forces at the Brest military range near its border with Poland. Minsk posted pictures and videos of masked Wagner instructors. Poland, meanwhile, said it was prepared for various scenarios and was monitoring the situation at the border with Belarus. At least 2 people and an armed attacker were killed and several others wounded in a shooting in New Zealand's Auckland. The attack happened hours ahead of the opening match of the Women's Soccer World Cup in the city. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said the shooting appeared to be the action of an individual believed by police to be a 24-year-old male who was employed at the construction site where the shooting occurred, and that police were not seeking anyone else in relation to the incident.
That's all in this edition of World Today. Stay tuned to India Today for all the latest news and updates.